Yeah.
Charlie, want to get started, Tamima?
You bet.
Well, let me turn my video off. I don't want to be distracting here.
Oh, don't do that.
I thought you were going to invite us all over for dinner. Okay, let's see. Wow, live transcript. All right, let's share. Okay, and like this. Okay, everybody, can everybody see okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome to week 4 of the 4-week course, Wisdom, Healing, and Tahara from Sefer Ma'avoria book. And tonight we're going to focus mostly on the Hakafot, the ritual of circling the deceased. I guess I also want to start by just dropping in before we're going to start with the chant, but I want to drop in here that I'm going to share a lot of detail and a lot of nuance relating to the tree of life for each Hakafot, and there'll be a chance to feel into each circle and get a sense of the meaning. But having said that, I just want to be sure, it's like you could have a really good Hakafot experience without this, just by doing it with intention and by walking the circles. So there's potency there. So I don't want you to feel like you have to know this and feel pressured about it. Rather, let it wash over you, let it seep in. You're going to receive what you receive, and some of it may come into your awareness later. So no rush, but really an allowing is the best way to really, instead of like knowing and worrying about it, just allow it, be curious, be interested. And you'll leave here knowing what you need to know, and when you practice, we've been doing iterations for the past four weeks. It'll seep in more. Okay, so what I'd like to do, let's see, okay, and I'm actually getting good with this new old format of of using Zoom and sharing. So the Ana B'Choach, I want to start by chanting this together. This is a melody that we also use for the Hakafot. And having said that, the Ana B'Choach, 7 lines and 7 divine names, right? It's all one, the name of 42, or 7 6-letter names, one for each line. So if we look at the first letters of each word here, that represents the attribute chesed, and so on like that. So I want to invite you, as we chant the Ana B'Choach, if you're drawn, to look at the divine name for each line and focus on the attribute. And we're going to be doing this a few different ways today. Okay. So this is Reb Zalman's melody. This is also the same melody that we pre-recorded and was sent out with the class. And it goes like this. Lai, 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 ya, lai, 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 ya, lai, ya, lai, 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 ya, lai, ya, lai, ya, lai, lai, lai. The first line starts with chesed. Ana B'Choach Gedulat Yamincha Tatir Tzarura Hayya 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 Gevora, discipline. Kabel rinat amcha sagvenu tahavrenu nora. Hayya 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 hayya. Nahagibor Tiferet Dor Sheyechudecha Kevavat Shamrim Ay, 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 ay. Barchem taharim rachamei tzikatecha tamid gamleim. Ay, 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 ay. Chasim kadosh v'rav tuvcha nahel adatecha. Ay, 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 ay. Yachid ge'el le'amcha b'nei zochrei kedushatecha. Ay, 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 ay. Shavatenu kabelu shma'at sa'akatenu yodea ta'alumot. Ay, 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 ay. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ay, 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 ay. Let's do it in English. Source. Evie, are you having trouble seeing? I can't hear you.
It's absolutely tiny. I can barely read it. That's why I'm as close as I can and I can read it that way. Yeah.
You might be able to expand it on your screen.
Yeah, I can't expand it. I don't know if anybody else has the same issue, but.
If you go up to the top of your screen and look at view options, there should be a pull down that allows you to do zoom ratio.
Ratio.
Oh,
And then
that's
you-
a little better. I did standard and it's a little better.
Right,
Thank
but
you.
you can also go to
You
100%
can also do
or
150.
150%.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you mean, the view options. Thank you. Yeah, right.
Okay, so we'll do it in English now. La 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 la, ya la ya la ya la la la, ay 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Source of mercy with loving strength, untie our tangles. Ay, 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 ay. You can do that and focus on the name too. Your chanting folk raise high, make pure, accept our song. Ay, 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 ay. Like your own eye, Lord, keep us safe, who union seek with you. Ay, 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 ay. Cleanse and bless us, infuse us ever with loving care. Ay, 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 ay. O gracious source, holy power, do guide your folk. Ay, 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 ay. Sublime and Holy One, in your great goodness, lead your flock. Ay, 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 ay. Receive our prayer, do hear our cry, whose secrets knows. Ay, 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 ay. Through time and space, your glory shines, majestic one. Ay, 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 ay. Okay, so we're back at Sefer Ma'avoria book, which is what we're doing in this class. And I just wanted to look at the cover again. There's always just such delicious tidbits in here. So I'm just going to translate one sentence here, which says this, this is Ma'avoria book by the wonderful Kabbalist, the divine Gaon Aharon Berechia. And it says in it, Bo Yevuar Ech Yitnaheg Adam Mispar Yemei Chayav Ad Eit Ba Yom Pikudata. And in it is illuminated how a human should behave during the days of his or her lives until the appointed day when the life is over, is what it's setting to. So it's really, he was holding it and put the intention of it. It's really not a book about death, but really how to live your life while you're here. And we look at death, we're aware of death in it. And this is the Seder HaHakafot, which we're going to work with today, which is the order of Hakafot. And whoops, come back. There it is. And it really fills me with awe to look at this and know that it took like a 40-page document to break it down and make it accessible for men and women. So, and it's one page. That's really what we're working with for this. And that's the 7 Sacred Circles book. I know some of you have it.
So can I
And
ask,
that's that intention. Yes.
just
Edie?
the Takli part, are we supposed to do this once the body is put in the Aron? Because I can't.
Yes. It had.
Okay. Because otherwise we would not be able
So
to.
you put it in the you put it in the Aron. You have to put, no, I mean have to. It's designed right after the Aron, and then you say Vayehi ben Soa, you lift it and you move it somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so, and there's also a custom of giving staka for each hakafah. So like putting money in a pushka. And if someone like really, you want to really like ask for mercy for this person, you think that they need extra help, or you want to give them an extra boost, you kind of give more staka is one of the guidance in here by Berechia. But yeah, at that, so it could also be before a levaya, before the burial. So there have been times when I've done this, right before the funeral happens, and we do the hakafot, like the family did it. Or, or you could have the whole community circle someone before the levaya. Everybody's depending on what the family wants and what's appropriate, what it feels right, because it's always, funerals are very personal.
Not many people have even heard of this as an option, so it sounds like a lovely thing to do at the funeral. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a way to express. I mean, like you physically move through it. Okay, and this is the wonderful picture that David Zinner found at The Hague, showing people actually doing the practice, which is, which is awesome. And so you can also see the day that this was done, and you can see the moments of time, and it's, and everybody here is male. So that may be a way one circle looks. And so I put this up as an example. This may be what another circle looks like. This example is a wedding, but it's still a circle dance. So some circles look like this, some circles look like that. They don't have to all be the same. Oh yeah, so Hakafot circuits. When do we do circuits? Sukkot, right? Most of us remember we've touched on this before. Sukkot, there's a practice of lulav and etrog, and circling around the Torah. Simchas Torah, we dance with the Torah. Under a chuppah, many people, that's a great memory for many people, actually doing the Hakafot. There's also practices on Tu B'Av, Betulot B'Machol. They're the maidens doing the circle dance. So everybody's equal, wearing white, dressed the same, and and this is a day where women were, can select their suitors, where it was traditional, be like, hey, you over here. So kind of like Sadie Hawkins-ish. And the future to come in Ta'anit 21, it says that the Atid Lavo, and the future to come, all the tzaddikim will be in a circle. They'll all be learning. Everybody will get their moment in the sun, as it were, the moment at the head of the table, and move around. So there's like no animosity, no hierarchy. Everybody gets a turn, like the constellations of the zodiac, where everyone gets their moment. And I think that's one of the important aspects of the circle. There's a real egalitarian type of focus that's inherent in it. Also, Hakafot, circles are an aspect of the divine feminine. When we're going to take a look at the Tree of Life again, pictures again. But I think that's also, it's like that inclusivity, and it's more like a marinating, consistent movement. That's kind of like being pregnant is like being consistent. So that's also, so in that way, it's feminine. So I love this. The
Can I make a
nature of
point?
God is a circle. Oh, hi, Isaac.
Hi,
Sure. What you got?
2 points. The reason why Hakafot developed during weddings or during other times especially during that, is because everybody in a circle is equal to everybody else. Just like in dead, no matter how smart or how wise or how rich or how wealthy or whatever you are, everybody's wearing white, everybody's equal. That's one of the reasons. I do have a picture dating to Rome, early 17th century. I have a photo at home, and it shows the Hakafot, and there is a woman during the Hakafot.
I'd love to see that picture.
Okay, I'll get it to you. And I did find that in the Sephardic community, there was the mother or the father, basically a very close feminine relation to the deceased, made the Hakafot along with the man as sort of to symbolize that she okays what they did. She okays the Tahara. She gives her hechsher on the Tahara. So that's one thing. Now, on the Hakafot, have you seen the large Chevre Kadisha plates? I mean, they were popular 100 and 200 and 300 years ago. They're large plates, and they're Chevre Kadisha, and it says on it, Tzedakah Tatzel Mimovet. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I think it is. Is it in the? I think it's in the picture of the Hakafot. Is that?
Let me go.
Like
going back.
this? Like
I don't
this
see a plate. I don't see a plate on the coffin. I have a couple of those plates in my collection. And
I think by a plate, do you mean like a plate you would eat a dinner off of?
Yes, but it's made out of metal very often. It's a little bit more elaborate, have engraving on it, but it's a plate. It basically, you have your main course on the plate, and it's very flat. And in some Hasidic circles, they make the Hakafot, but not like you showed in your picture going around the coffin. Their backs are to the coffin. They make 7 Hakafot going around with their backs to the coffin. And every time their backs, that's right, like the backs are to
That's like this picture, which
there
is.
There we go. And after every Hakafot, they flip a coin backwards into the plate. That's why the plate is flat. And these Hakafot are to drive away the spirits that came from a man's nocturnal emission, the evil spirits, and also they're tied up to Lilith as well. And that is a tradition that among the Skvera Hasidim, which is a small community of Hasidim from the town of Skver, which I believe is in the Ukraine, they have their own community. They still it's about 50 miles north of New York. They still maintain that tradition. So this is just a different way of looking at the 7. I'm sorry?
Beautiful. What's the name of the Hasidic group?
Skevere. I may have the spelling incorrect. SK. I mean, you won't find anything about the funerals, but I have seen it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that.
Amima, does that,
Okay,
what
yay.
Isaac described, does that
What?
throwing of the coin into the plate, does that tie into what Berechia wrote?
Well, Berechia did write about the custom of like taking a coin and maybe, and putting in like cutting it into little pieces. But I'm going to go back and read that part and see if that's because maybe they put it in, maybe that had been the way that they actually manifested it. So, but he did write that there it was customary to take a coin and actually break it into pieces and send it with the deceased. So it could be the way they manifested it.
Well, there's an old
People
Greek
have created.
legend about leaving money on the deceased's mouth or eyes in order to cross the river, the mythical Greek river, to get to the next world. Berechia lived in a very egalitarian world. He was highly educated. I'm not sure he didn't take it from some of these, the Greek legends and myths. I'm not sure.
It was interesting to see it because it seemed kind of counter to, to what we studied like Moed Katan about we don't want to send money, but yet, that little piece was in there. So I thought that was really interesting. So it seems like there was a little bit of a bleed over. And I think it's also really important to notice that you mentioned, you brought in also, Isaac, which we mentioned before, the idea of the circle being completely egalitarian and no leader, no follower. Everybody is equal. Everybody gets their moment to be at the head, to participate. Like in like Olam Haba, and it's in the day to come when the tzaddikim will be in the circle, or also like for the Tu B'Av, the maidens in a circle, everybody having that egalitarian aspect, and everybody it's not like the president's daughter is more important than the shepherd's daughter. It's like they share clothing and they normalize the playing field, which is what a circle does.
Everybody is equal. Yep.
It's a beautiful thing. God bless us. Okay, so, and I love this. This just takes my breath away every time. See if you can visualize this. The nature of God is a circle of which the center is everywhere and the circumference is nowhere. There's only the center. And it gives me such joy just to picture it. Okay. So these are examples of Hakafot in nature. So for example, Hakafot circuits. First of all, there is really no such thing as an absolute circle in nature. Everything is an ellipse, is modified. Even orbits of planets could be modified because of the gravity of the planets, for example. And you can see, and foundationally, I would say that the most foundational circuits are the orbits of the planets. As a matter of fact, the orbits of the celestial, kochve lechet in Hebrew, the celestial bodies. So like, for example, a circuit, every 24 hours, we have day, we have night, and then we have day. That's how it's said in Torah. And so each time we have night and day and it completes, that is a physical circuit, right? That is a circle that Earth completed. And that defines the Earth day, which is unique to Earth, which I think is really interesting. So too, the moon orbits Earth every 29 and a little bit day. And there's the new moon, which is Rosh Chodesh, the full moon, there's texture, the full moon, which is the brightness of the moon. Zohar teaches that's when the Shekhinah is completely present. And then you go back to the new moon again. So there's a cycle that happens every 29 and a little bit days. So that's also another cycle that defines the Earth month. And there's texture in that, right, in both these. And so too, when the Earth orbits when Earth orbits Sun, right, we just recently left the winter solstice. We're moving towards springtime. And we can feel the texture of the seasons. So there's texture to Earth time. And the behavior of humanity will be different during Earth time, during different parts of the year. Like, for example, we just had the winter solstice, and the summer solstice is very close to Matan Torah, Shavuot, right, when we got Torah. And it's like that big boom, so kind of building up to that every year. And so too, in Jewish practice, at the equinox, Pesach is the spring equinox, and the Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur times are right around the autumn equinox. And those are times when Earth has relatively equal hours of day and night. So there's a balance in the local cosmos, and that's a great place to do our internal work, to do tshuva, to figure out, well, who is Pharaoh for us this year? And to do the inner work. And it's so profound that the Jewish calendar is, it's the way it is, and it's by design for sure. And that it works this way is so profound. So there's like a real texture and to the circuit. So like this to the circles. So like the field that we live in, like the space that we live in, we think of it as being empty, but it's not empty. It's got all the waves, all the resonance of the sun, moon, and earth, as well as the other planets of the constellations in the zodiac, the planets in our solar system, and so on, that are feeding into our local cosmos, that impact us, that have an impact on us. So I think that's pretty interesting. So circles are foundational to our way of life, and they're really like the glue that keeps everything together. Okay, and these are pictures of the Eitz Chaim. And what I mentioned before is like, I want you to let the information about the tree of life, just let it wash over you, and trust that you're going to get what you get, and just receive it in an open, curious way. Don't worry if you don't get it all. There'll be other times to look at it, and you're going to get exactly what you need. And you can also have a meaningful circle experience without any of it, as many of us have been doing circles for forever, and not even having awareness of it being connected or how it could be informed by the tree of life in Kabbalah, right? The feminine tree of life and the masculine, if you will, the sessions. Okay. And this is so profound that it looks so much like DNA. There's an underlying principle here. Looking at a substructure of creation that the rabbis, that our mystics intuited hundreds of years before, if not millennia before. Okay, the Ana B'Choach. We chanted this as we were starting, and I just want to pause and take a look. And because one way to understand the Hakafot and the mystery behind it is it's really imprinted here in the Ana B'Choach. The Ana B'Choach, you could say, is here to present the divine name, the Aleph Bet Gimel Yud Taf Tzadik, the Abad Yatats, for Chesed, for example. So really what the Ikar, what the essence is of singing the Ana B'Choach, it really is this divine name, which is the first letter of each word here. Right, and then the first line relating to Chesed, and also that it's a process. So I want to be sure I drop that in. It's like not something out there. It's something that's very like a natural process. So first you have Chesed. First, Chesed is like water, limitless, expansion. And water left unchecked will expand until it finds a limit, or it'll just keep on expanding. So its nature is like to fit into its container completely. So without Gevora, the discipline, the contraction, the boundary, the fire to balance the water, which is also equated to blessing, the Chesed, it's lost. It's not really useful. But with the Gevora, which is like the cup or the filter that allows it to drip through appropriately so it can nourish. So that's Gevora. Gevora is kind of like the membrane. It could be a stop sign. I like membrane, filter, and it modulates. It doesn't let it all pour out all at once. Tiferet, which translates as beauty, and it's balance and harmony. And it's really the harmony and balance between chesed and gvura, between endless expansion and boundary and discipline, in order to channel the light and bring it into the center and to make it useful. So the job of all of these sfirot, of all of these attributes, is to bring the light into malchut, which is Shekhinah, which is the earth plane. It's working well when that goal is achieved. The next step in the process, which is connected to the right leg, taking a step forward, is netzach, victory, tenacity, staying the course, making it happen. That quality is attributed classically to Moshe Rabbeinu, 40 years in the desert with the people. God bless him. People fetching. It wasn't easy. Staying the course, bringing people to the land, even though he didn't get to enter himself. So Moshe Rabbeinu is really is a model of that. And again, this is the divine name. So someone were going to write an amulet and wanted to like maybe work on their own amulet, and you see one of these attributes, which is maybe something you need more of in your life, you could work with one of these names. And this is something that I've done. You really figure out what you need and sit with it and pray with it and and allow it to ask it and then see what happens. So far, I'll just say so far so good. Knock on wood. Two. So netzach, that's staying the course, making it happen, and that's like the right leg, right thigh, right hip, but it's balanced with hud, which is gratitude, humility, waiting, allowing. Like netzach is go, go, go. You got to make it happen, and that's going to burn you out. Going to burn anything out. But hud waits. Hud can recognize energy from another source and knows how to use it. Hud is the way of the priest and the prophet. Hud, so it's Aaron and Sarah are the matriarch and patriarch associated with Hud. Pause, waiting, allowing, and us making use of the energies that are present. So tracking them. So I think I may have said this before. I think of the people in June, the Aboriginal people riding the big, powerful sandworm. All of a sudden, they're as powerful as a sandworm, but it's not their energy. They're accessing energy from another source. Yasud, foundation, sexuality, intimacy, community. So this is Yosef and Tamar. Yosef went to say no to Potiphar, so he's kind of to Potiphar's wife. So he's the role model, if you will, for Yasud. And Tamar, the Havdil, which is different, knew when to make it happen and carry on the messianic line. Hello? Could you there, thank you. So Yasud, that's foundation. And it's also in the body, the hips. So there's this aspect of like the foundation of our whole beings is physically in that part. And the foundation for the continuity of the species is also there. So it's also very, relevant. It's not something way out there and woo-woo. It's something personal that is human and earthbound. And the final line relates to Shabbat. It's the seventh cycle. It's Shekhinah, also called Malchut. And the great receiver. So I think about on Erev Shabbos, God willing, tomorrow night, people that take the time to observe Shabbos, you dress nice, you make the house nice. So it's really getting ready to receive the presence. And by virtue of that getting ready, I dare say, it's like that could be, it's not, whether you believe presence comes or not, the virtue of getting ready already opens the human psyche to receiving and, is an important piece of it. Okay. So we're going to look at each of these. So what we're going to do now is just go through each of the Sfirot, and I'm going to share the line that we sing in the El Baruch, which is the Seder HaHakafot. Okay, so I want to invite you, water, to, chesed is expansive, unconditional, unbounded love, connective. Water connects. The nature of water is connective. It's electric. You can move electricity. It's conductive in that way. Fits into any container. It's a model for God's presence, God's love, the light of the infinite coming into the earth plane. It's denoted in classical Kabbalah by the sigil, which is actually this vowel under the chet. And if you look at it, it looks kind of like an arrow. It's like pointing the flow, pointing the water, pointing the blessing to the earth plane. And our ancestors, day 1 of the week, so Sunday, which we talked about in this class, Saturday night to Sunday night, but really ostensibly Sunday is day 1. And how cool that it's usually a day for chesed in life, in life in the Western civilization anyway. So actually, whoops. So let's take a moment and close your eyes. We'll just take a few seconds and feel into, imagine chesed. Ask yourself, invite yourself to meet chesed, meet the grace, meet the water. What is the nature of water? Maybe you'll come up with some new and some different adjectives. So I invite you to close your eyes. Chesed, expansion like water. And so what this are the words to the Seder HaHakafot, and that have been adapted for use by women. So you guys will have to tough it out for this one. What's also the basic structure of this is really interesting. So you remember that we were looking at the first letter of each word in the Ana B'choach. Ana B'choach Gedulat Yamincha Tatir Tzura. And the first letter of each word in that gave us a Bagyatats, is the divine name. So if you look at this here, you can see that the first letter of each word in this first triad of this piyut also gives you that same divine name. Do you see that? Anybody need some help seeing that? Because it's really a way to connect. And so this, when I noticed that, it was just like, wow, I knew there were 7 lines. It was like the Ana B'choach, and it was a carrier vehicle for the divine name of 42, the El Baruch. Okay, so it attaches in this way. So the form of this is, first it avails the name of 42. Then it has a behest, like a request. And then a chorus. So this chorus repeats in, it's the same chorus for every line. So I want to invite you to chant with me. We'll use the same melody as we did with the Ana B'choach. We'll do it first in Hebrew and then in the English. And like chesed, so like in the body, classically chesed relates to the right arm. So it's an opportunity, an invitation. Maybe you want to move your right arm, find some way to access, work with it. That's personal. Maybe you want to feel it on the inside and we won't see it. Right? And chesed, I have this little bit of water here, just showing that. Hello? It's just showing that there's just showing the grace, the movement of water, which happens in waves. The other thing I want to mention about Chesed and like the planets and the moon is that the moon has a gravitational field, and water responds to the gravitational field of the moon, which creates the waves of the ocean, which is like the first movement, initiates the movement, which initiates, you know, the coming forward of life. So it's like really foundational aspects. And I think this little wave just looks so cute. Yeah, and it's like, you know, you can see that you can get a sense of it's not so hard to imagine the moon, the gravitational field of the moon tugging on the water, making it making it into waves. And I live not so far from the beach, so I get the privilege of going out and looking at the awesomeness of nature. And, you know, it's a simple everyday miracle of the waves making waves because of the pull from the moon and, you know, there are other celestial bodies nearby, but mostly the moon. So simple and profound. It goes like this. La 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 la, ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay. El Baruch Gadol Yireh Tom Zidkoteha. Ay, 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 Vayiftach lamekom kivrei avoteha. Ay, 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 lai, 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 Vayishlach kapara le'ashmata vayiten eleha. Rachameha, El blessed and great, see the wholesomeness of her righteousness. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ay 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 ay. Open sacred space for her in the graves of her ancestors. Ay, 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 ay. Send forgiveness for remaining guilt and give to her the tenderness she built. La 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 la, ay 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 ay. Amen. So we're praying for grace for the deceased. Thank you. So are there any questions about the structure, about what we're doing? Holly, blue. Yes. Unmute yourself, please. Can I unmute you? No. Can we get some help? Thank you.
Oh, thank
Now
you.
you're in.
All right, great. Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't know. My computer's acting up. I'm so fascinated by this prayer. It's really captured my attention, and I'm just wondering, and this is maybe not the right time, but I would love to hear anything that you know about Nehunya ben Hakana. It's so profound and it's so deep, and I'm like, who was that person?
So Nehunya ben Gekana was like one of the early rabbis, and he was the one who put the Ana V'Choach together.
Right.
This is, and actually, thank you for setting me up for this because I almost forgot to mention this, according to Berechia, was attributed to Hillel Hazaken, the elder Hillel, the great Hillel, say it on one foot. So these, and there's another version that's also of the name of 42 that is attributed to the holy Chida, Chaim David Azulai. So these are people that knew about the power of the name and composed ways to share it and chant it. And I'm thinking Hillel was probably earlier, but it's also one thing to attribute it to someone and then we don't really know. But it's also, who really wrote it. So when but we'll stick with our ancestors. We'll stick with tradition because that's what we have. Did that help, or does that make it more confusing?
It's fine.
And I'm
thanks.
happy we could talk more about Nechunya ben Hakana later. But this is actually, but thank you for reminding me to share that this is attributed to Hillel, the great sage Hillel, which kind of takes my breath away. Okay, moving to Gevora Boundaries. The membrane. And I love this picture because it shows like the Gevora is the blood vessel and the Chesed in the Gevora is the blood. And it's like a foundational aspect to, for life to exist. Well, for anything to exist, really, for anything to grow, because you need to have the piping to get there. So aspects of Gevora, where Chesed expands, Gevora contracts, Gevora focuses, and it's all in the service of moving the energy where it needs to go. Because Gevora can get a very bad rap, because Gevora, when it's out of hand, can really constrain unnecessarily, and that's not useful or healthy. But used correctly, it's a necessary part of manifestation. So contraction, discipline, membrane, filter. I think of a coffee filter, the coffee grounds stay out and the wonderful coffee comes through. It's an aspect of discernment related to the left arm, where Chesed is the right arm. So you have a balance between the right arm and the left arm for Chesed and Gevora. And when they're balanced, then the flow can come right down the middle. Oh, and the vowel for Gevora is the shva, which is kind of like a stop, like a pause, like a break in the flow. So take a moment, close your eyes. We'll just take a few seconds and contemplate Gevora, hold it, imagine. Gevora is also connected to, like Chesed is water, which draws things together. Gvora's element is fire, which, nobody gets too close to fire. And survives it really well anyway. So the idea is like it's the separation that it invokes. It's its nature. Okay. So we'll just take a moment and sit with Gevora. Okay. Gevora. La, la, la. So also remember, so I imagine this going on, like, okay, you do the chesed one, you put money in the pushka, or you throw the coin on the plate and do the circle, and then you pause, and then there's also a practice of like the prayer leader doing an Ana B'choach or in a Psalm 91 in between, if so moved. So it's like there's like a break between, and then you put money in the pushka again, or put money on the plate, depending on your tradition or what you want to, how you want to honor the person, and start with this. La 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 la, ya la ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la ya la. Right, left arm. Kadosh Rachum Elyon Shor Tahar Nafsha. Ay 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 ay. V'chaltzeha pentach leha lahat hacheret be'isha v'tikanes legan adneha v'lo yizkeru od avoneha v'yishlach kapara le'ashmata v'yiten eleha rachameha. Holy, maternally merciful, paramount, fortify the purity of her soul. Save her lest she be consumed by flaming words fire. She will enter her Eden with no memory of iniquity. Ay, 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 ay. Send forgiveness for remaining guilt and give to her the tenderness she built. Ay, 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 ay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Gevora. Tiferet. Tiferet, sometimes people use it a little differently in different times, so it kind of can depend what you mean in terms of the body, what you're focusing on. Some of the times it focuses just to the heart center, and but like it can be the heart center expands out, if you will, to the entire torso. So I've been working with it mostly as the torso lately. And there are times when you study things, we may see it appropriate to be, you might think it might be the others. So don't let it confuse you. So Tiferet, Rachamim is the word they use. And Rachamim is often translated as compassion. What Rachamim has in it is Rechem, which is womb, right? And so when you say compassion, it takes the womb out of Rachamim. So that's why it's so important to have an aspect, a womb-like aspect of like maternal tenderness is what I'm working with these days. You know, it's like the translations aren't exact. It's really an art form to get it to resonate in a way to give over the intention of what the Hebrew is. So it's not like you look it up in a dictionary and it's going to work like that. Just saying. So Tiferet, you know, it's the balance of Chesed and Gevora. So balance is a focus in that, and harmony, you know, which is akin to balance. Really, it's like everything's moving well. You've done the work, and it's able to move through. And so the idea is the Chesed and Gevora balance. And then when that happens, we really want the center line of the tree of life to be full of flow. And that's the vision that we're going for here, or that is being thought of here. Giving what needs to be received, which is actually an act of compassion, because there's a attunement by the bestower on what the person doing the receiving needs or is able to receive. Because if you give more than can be received, well, it's just a waste and nobody feels really good about it in general. And so too, receiving what's being offered, you know, it may be close, not exactly, but also there's a certain tenderness in that reception and in the center line. So take a moment and let's close our eyes and focus on Tiferet. la la la, ya la ya la ya la la la, ya la ya la la la, ay 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 ay. Nagato dagul yigadil koach shmirata. Ay 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 ay. The tiskeli kanes linogad anan mesukoto. Uvo tale velo tered. Velo yizacher la avon vamered. V'yishlach kapara le'ashmata v'yitene leha rachamecha. Yadadada, yada, 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 yada. Please, great outstanding one, amplify the ability of her guards. Ay, 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 ay. She will merit entry into the radiance with cloud cover. In it she will rise, never descend, with no memory of iniquity or offense. Send forgiveness to remaining guilt, and give to her the tenderness she built. La 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 la, ay 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 ay. And I want to encourage you, like, I can't hear you, but you're very welcome, and it would probably be more fun to sing too. So if you're not. Okay, so that's Tiferet. So we've done right. And also, I'm just going to mention as far as the Chesed, Gevora, and Tiferet. So that really, it describes like the tension and the tree of life, because the right column relates to Chesed, and the left column on the tree of life relates to more discipline. And the center line is where you want the flow to happen. And so those three are three dominant ones. And then what follows is really a fractal of that energy. So they're very, very similar energetically. And having said that, Netzach, which translates as victory, endurance, stay in the course, making it happen. Netzach, without end. And it's connected to the right leg. Yeah, and this is like the tenacity of being pregnant, and also the tenacity of the species continuing. So they're in these pregnant seahorses. Staying the course even when it's tough. So close your eyes. Any question? If you have questions, raise your hand, and I'm happy to answer. Or not. Okay, well then, let's move forward to Netzach. Close your eyes, and we will focus on Netzach for the moment. La 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay 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 ay. And you put the money in the pushka on the plate. The rachame tahor, rachame hatzdaka, tamid gam leha. Ay 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 ay. Uminachal adanecha tashkeha v'yiftuchu la sha'arei Yerushalayim. Ay, 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 ay. Umichael yakriva lifnei shochen shamayim. Ay, 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 ay. Ve'ishlach kapara le'ashmata v'iten eleha rachameha. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Through pure motherly love, have maternal mercy on her. Give her abundant tzedakah always. Ay, 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 ay. Through the channel of your Eden quencher, open the gates of Yerushalayim for her. Michael will bring her close to the Shochen Shamayim, the one who dwells in heaven. Send forgiveness for remaining guilt and give to her the tenderness she feels. La 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 la, ay 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 ay, la la la, ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay. So Netzach and Hod are also two sides of of a scale, if you will. And the challenge is also to be in balance between drive, making it happen, and allowing and taking a look at what's present, what you may be able to use to meet the goal, the subtle energies. So like Hud, the reason I have this picture here for Hud, it looks a lot like Chesed, right? But what the focus is like the ripples, the subtle ripples, the nuance that exists, that are available. So the picture may look the same as Chesed, but the focus is on the subtle energy, the nuance, the allowing. So Hod, Hoda'ah is gratitude. Sometimes it's translated as glory. And a friend of mine, Cantor Michael, maybe some of you know Cantor Michael's form is the ability to let beauty shine through without claiming ownership. And it just like is that nuance, that presence. Or Rabbi Zalman chapter Shalomi, flying like a bird fly, making use of that undercurrent and just like gliding on it, or swimming like a fish swims. The left leg, which balances the right leg, and the way of the priests and the prophets. Aaron and Sarah, our ancestors, they were the priests and the priestess. And so when I worked on an attribute, this is an attribute I've had to work on quite a bit because like I'm really personally, Netzach, man, I have no problem staying the course, making it happen, driving it home. But like taking my hands off the reins is something much more, that was harder to learn. So I offer that to you. And it's just as important because as Netzach on its own will burn people out. People get sick, and which is actually what happened to me. And like learning to look around, that you don't have to do it, you're not alone, you don't have to do it all by yourself, is really useful and important. So take a moment, I invite you to close your eyes and contemplate Hud, gratitude, humility. Hud knows that there's something bigger and more powerful out there. Hud knows that you can lean in and there'll be support. La 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 la, ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay. Chai Kadosh Baruch Teher Nafsha Elyon. Ay, 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 ay. Uveit mikdash ve'apririon yiftechula beratzon. Umichael yachniseha besason besimcha besason. Ay, 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 ay. Ve'yishlach kapara le'ashmata ve'yitene leha rachameha. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay. Living holy, blessed, purify her supernal soul. Ay, 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 ay. The temple and high heaven will open for her with favor. Ay, 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 ay. Michael will escort her in with glee, with joy, with glee. Ay, 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 ay. Send forgiveness for remaining guilt and give to her the tenderness she built. La 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la ya la. And I love this picture of the nursing kitty for Hud, just like allowing, like taking herself out of the picture, but really just letting nature take its course. And she looks like she's really allowing. So Netzach and Hud, right? Two sides of the scale, two sides of the hips. Yasud, foundation. Yasud, Yud is got a gematria of 10, and Sud means secret. And so it's also like the secret of 10, the mystery of 10 is one of the ways I like to hold it. Foundation, community, sexuality, intimacy. This is about as intimate as you can be physically holding a baby, holding a fetus. And I just love this fetal elephant. Yosef and Tamar, the tzaddikim. So tzaddik is connected with Yasud, and so it also comes from tzaddik Yasud Olam. And also because probably the aspect of Yasud is the difficult one for humans to control, so it's acknowledged in this phrase. So take a moment, close your eyes, and breathe into Yasud. Imagine, feel into it. I mean, sometimes I like to feel into being in the amniotic, in the fluid, like, and in a way we are in this potent field that we live in. La 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 la, ya la ya la ya la la la, ya la ya la la la. Ay 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 ay. Ya galele bat pedutecha zach kadosh. Ay 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 ay. Ve'al mizbach, maybe it's Mizbeach HaKadosh, nishmatati nitzevet, umipi elyam shamtiye mevorechet. Ay, 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 ay. Veishlach kapara le'ashmata, veiten eleha rachameha. La 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 ya la ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la ya la ya la. Yah, reveal clear holiness to the daughter of your redemption. Ay, 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 ay. On the holy altar, her neshama will stand, and from heavenly mouth, there she will be blessed. Send forgiveness for remaining guilt, and give to her the tenderness she built. La 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 la, ya la ya la ya la la la, ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay. Yasud. So those are the 6 sefirot connected to the realm of Yetzirah, the realm of emotion, where most work needs to be done, I dare say. And the final sefirah, it's Malchut, it's Shechina, receiving, grounding, integration, it's presence, sovereignty, which is presence in its own way. And the birthing lamb, the idea of it's like the new being is birthed and it's sovereign. It's got its own sense of malchut. You can't, the mama may love it, may want to eat for it, may want to be sick for it, may want to, but like it's limited because it's a different, independent, sovereign being. So each of us has our own sense of malchut, our whole sense of majesty and our own space and our own freedom of choice, which is an aspect of what it speaks about here. So, and I'd like to hold the Shekhinah presence, the divine presence, like the presence that feeds this glowing field that we inhabit, the potent field in which we live. Like artists may call it, I think they call it negative space, and so this potent field, you could call it negative space, but it's really not negative. It's not empty. It's potent. It's filled, and that is because of Malchut shining onto, or Shekhinah, as it were, shining onto the earth plane. Or you could point to which isn't really different than pointing to the planets and the moon and the earth and the movement that happens. That just is. So, and we're each sovereign beings in that space. So take a moment and close your eyes and contemplate Malchut, contemplate Shekhinah, the presence. La 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la ya la la la. Ay 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 ay. Shochen kedem umeaz, tzedek yosher tumech. La 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 ya la ya la. Yela nefesh machazik v'tomech uva'arav oravot lefanecha yeshamesh v'yomam v'layla lo yamush. Ay 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 ay. Ve'yishlach kapara le'ashmata ve'yitein eleha rachameha. La 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ay 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 ay. dweller from ancient times until now, righteously direct your support. In you there will be strengthening and wholesomeness for this nephesh through the night. She will use them day and night and never cease. Ay, 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 ay. Send forgiveness for remaining guilt and give to her the tenderness she built. La 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 ya la ya la ya la 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 ay 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 ay. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Olam Va'ed. Ay 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 ay. So the Baruch Shem is how we ground Jewishly. So when we say divine names and we work with potent fields, the practice is to, like we say the Shema, we say that, quietly to ourselves. Similarly, when we do a chant that has a divine name in it. Any thoughts or comments? Or just like feeling full?
I just wondered if we could say it while sitting Shmirah. Say all of this. I don't know. It just feels so meaningful and a preference to think Psalms.
So, well, what I would do during Shmira, I mean, I guess Psalms are really Tehillim or the practice. And, I know they're stretched. I would probably do the Ana B'choach before that. This one is kind of very unique for this purpose.
Well,
So
yeah,
I probably,
no, I was thinking Ana B'choach.
is there a reason? But you could certainly, you could study it. I mean, and what's, kind of feel your way into it. But yeah, it's like because we'd want to work with it. I mean, that's what I'm really hearing you say there.
Well, yeah, I just started thinking of whether it's appropriate to say the Ana B'choach while sitting Shmirah.
Well, the tradition is Tehillim. In
Right.
general, and I know and we know that different people do different practices. So, if you're going to go off course or doing that, I would do that rather than this one.
You would do.
Although, you may want to. I do the Ana B'choach often, and just like Reb Zalman. Well, you probably heard him say this yourself, that when he'd hear an ambulance go by, and pray that everything's okay, people get where they need to go, so that nobody gets hurt. You say the Ana B'choach, untie the tangles and kind of lead the pieces there. So whenever, and actually, I use the Ana B'choach a lot. Like when I went to Spain last time, a couple of years ago, maybe just a little over a year ago, like all the places that these terrible things had happened in Spain, and you could kind of still feel the shrieking of the people. That was really a space for the Ana B'choach. But it's really, I feel like it's always appropriate.
Well, that's good, because I would like to add it, because I can't do Psalms the whole time. Just some people love it.
Yeah, I get it, and right, and there's a, well, I've seen you could add it to your case, your box, your Shmira box. Okay, well, I have a couple more pieces to share about from Berechia, just like,
Wait, we
looked at parts of this.
This is Charna. Can I just cut in for a
Sure,
second?
China.
A bad time.
Yeah, no,
Two
it's
things.
fine.
I just think really showering gratitude for finding the spiritual technology and sharing it. I really appreciate it. And I think with all good spiritual technology, there's a precision. And so my gut says there's a precision of when you use the Anabachoach. There's a precision of when you use these Hakafot to really effect an influence of some sort. And so I don't know, that's how I look at it. I don't know if that's just like too, but I'm kind of into that whole precision thing in the priesthood.
Well, there's certainly, I mean, absolutely. I think those times that I mentioned were good examples of using the Yana B'choach.
Because Reb Zalman
So
also
that's
said
why
it
I
was,
offered it up.
yeah, Reb Zalman said, like, as well as what you said, it's to mitigate severity. So there's a precision, and I mean, there's timing. I don't know. I'm going to shut up. I'm sorry.
No, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. But I also want to be careful because a lot of people have different practices, and and I'm sure if we talk to different people about their practices, we'll all learn something also. So I'm really I'm trying to hold a big umbrella. And if you want to talk offline about specific practices, contact me. I love to talk about this stuff, and or find the right practice to fit the need and the right liturgy to do that. So thank you for adding that, Cherna. Okay, so just a little bit more from Berachia. The Zehu Sod HaBracha, and this is the secret of a bracha. Shel Ma'aseh HaMitzvot, for actually doing the mitzvot. Sheyit Aleh Sham HaMa'aseh HaGashmi Haruchani Shehu HaDibor VeHapeh. So that the physical action, you're probably not seeing this very well, are you? Hang on a sec. Okay, that's better. So that the physical action accompanied with the physical action of completing the bracha. So like when you give a bracha, we may say al natilat yadayim for washing the hands. So the physical action when you do a bracha on al natilat yadayim is actually washing the hands. Or if we do a bracha on anything like a mitzvah bracha. So there's two types of brachas. Let me back up a second. There's a bracha for something that we're enjoying, to say, when we bless on food, for example, it's like because we're going to do a blessing for pleasure, and it doesn't have the kitchanu b'mitzvotav. But the brachas that have the kitchanu b'mitzvotav in it, there's the who sanctifies us with the mitzvah. So what Berachia is reminding us is that we have to actually do the action. So we wash our hands. And then we've completed it, but we've also accompanied it with spiritual aspects that are vocalization, which are the voice, and the vapor from the mouth. And of course, before we even start this, there's the intention of doing it. So what he's doing is actually mapping the intention with the intention, with the emotion, and the action, and kind of making a three-tiered process. And so what's the point of this? I want to, to show that the different parts of the bracha, and that completing the action is important. And Berachia thought it was important enough to include this in this sefer here to remind us that when you do the bracha, you have to do the action, and that there's a spiritual component that is resonating with it. So doing the physical mitzvah, the mitzvah raises the matter to the level of asiyah, which is a level of doing alone. Okay, so when you actually do a mitzvah, so the mitzvah kind of resides in that space of asiyah after you do the mitzvah. So you say the bracha, you do the mitzvah, or you just do. I hope this is clear. And this is what's so cool about it is that this is the place, according to Aharon Berachia, that the souls go to after dying, after their rest, the menucha, which is dying, and they get their reward there. And the reward is a garment that comes into being by means of doing physical the physical doing of mitzvot. So this is actually, I read this in the Zohar not so long ago, so I'm pretty sure that Aharon Berechia got it from there as well. And from the side of Asiya, there's reward stretches out so that to the body also that participates. So the idea is like when someone passes away, like all the mitzvot, all the good deeds that you did are waiting for you. They're waiting for you, waiting for the nefesh. And the body and the being is clothed in this levush, in this garment made entirely of the good deeds. And then it protects and it gives like a fortitude, a sustaining resonance, a radiance to the being and a certain energy, oomph on high. So something, God willing, we can look forward to. Okay, and this was really nice. And okay, so the reason that he's explaining all this is so that the people will hear and understand the information given thoroughly about how important it is to engage in acts of loving kindness, to engage in acts of gemilut chasadim, particularly as it relates to the needs of the deceased, because the deceased are powerless. Their hands are not in a situation to be able to really do anything, to activate arousal from below. So there's this sense of arousal on below and arousal on high, and it's when the people on earth like love God and want to feel presence and yearn for that presence in a deep way. It brings what's called the Mei Nukvaim, the feminine waters are invoked, and the feminine waters are the arousal from below. Invoke the arousal on high and invite spirit to come into day-to-day life, into the world, into being. And so it's an activator. And when somebody dies, they lose this privilege of being able to activate in this way. So it is necessary for the living to give benevolently with great chesed in caring for the deceased body and the soul through action and intention. So, and for the sake of the time they rise on high and dwell there. And it's interesting because this last sentence was actually ambiguous in terms of whether they were talking about the person that was deceased or the people doing the work. And so they will rest in heights and be fortified with secret hidden potential. So by means of these practices, and I think Berechia was being intentionally ambivalent, whether you're doing the practice, there's a fortification that happens, or having the practice and the rituals done for you, that's giving it to another person, the blessing manifests. So that's what we have. Thank you so much for being here for this 4-week session, the course. It's been a real privilege. Are there final words or thoughts?
Well, Tamima, I have a little question about what you were just going over, which is it suggesting that the practice that we're doing, like with the Hakafot and the prayers and the Tahara, that it's able to be a source of, let's say, that clothing to the soul after death, even though that individual himself did not do it?
That's what the final piece said, so that we're providing. Yes, that's what the last piece there said. We can take a look at the screen and see. Okay. Yishma Adam v'yen da'at la'ashuro kama tzarich Adam lekaven b'hitaska b'gemilut chasadim. So he really wants to emphasize how important it is for people, a human, to busy themselves with acts of kindness. And he's pointing to the end of life practices because that's what we're doing at. And the needs of the deceased, specifically because they're in a really low place and their hands are not able to do actions to arouse the divine, to bring presence in. So it's also, he's specifically focusing on the idea of the person that's deceased is not this, they can't activate anything, much less invite in the divine presence. So that being true, the living people, it's incumbent upon the living people to do Hasidic acts, to do acts of kindness for the deceased's body and soul, through their actions and their intentions, such that at the time they're on high, they'll be there, and they will titlonen, it's like to relax on high and have a fortified chevion bekoach, secret potential, fortified energy. So he's really ambivalent. When I read this, I don't see, I don't think it's just for the deceased, and I don't think it's just for the person that's doing it. It's like weaving this web of holiness and sacredness and a thread that can continue.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So Tamima, something that occurs to me in this is it almost feels like the at the time of the, so this is at the time of the Tahara or at the time of the Hakafot?
It's not, this is not only about Hakafot, it's just generally tearing for the dead. So what I went as a first, so it's just, it's not specific to Hakafot or to Tahara. It's just to tend to the dead.
Okay, so then what occurs to me is it almost feels like those of us who are performing these mitzvot for the sake of the one who is, I like to say, departing rather than departed. It's almost as if we're performing mitzvot for that one, not only on their behalf, but almost like their proxies, and acting sort of as an updraft, lifting them.
That's
lifting them up. It's not sort of a horizontal kind of, I'm giving you this, but here, take this with you.
It's definitely, it's inviting the presence in that will lift them up, because they can't do it anymore.
Right. So, but it's that same sort of, I've seen other places in Berechia that almost like when we're doing Kadosh, we're lifting up, but at the same time we're pulling down, right? And both things are happening at once.
Yeah, I mean, it's like bringing in that yearning for Source's presence. Like, everybody likes to be invited. Invite me and I'll probably show up. It's like we invite Hashem and then Source shows up too. It's like, but without an invitation, without that arousal from below, that beckoning, it's less likely. Don't we all like to be invited?
It's kind of like that romantic moment. There's the one down in the courtyard singing to the one up on the balcony, and they're finding their way to join because of the distance rather than in spite of it.
It's like the yearning.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Tamima, do you think this could be used in some way during our virtual Taharas?
Why not?
The Hakafot?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
We
would. So, like, what you could do, what I've modeled before, but it's hard to do in a class, is create like a mizbeach, and that's where you put the intention for the deceased to be. And if you had something of, oh, I'm sorry, like a little altar, something to circle.
Good. Okay.
So I have like a little round table that I use sometimes, for example. And then to do Hakafot around that, you know, or you could even put like a decorative cloth on the floor, but something to hold the space
Okay,
and, you know, and do the Hakafot like that.
that sounds
So,
good.
you know,
Yeah,
contact me. I'll help you. I can help you. I mean, I think it's useful, and it's really like,
Yeah.
it really changes it, you know, it makes a difference.
go Charna.
I can not only can I see it, but I think it'll actually help the virtual experience. It'll help people to focus and to like really. I think it's I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm thinking it
Yay.
would make people.
Not that, you know, God forbid, wait, God forbid, not that I want anyone to die, please, no. Like, I need
Right.
to say that quickly.
No, 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 it's not what you meant.
But since we know people eventually do, if we teach this, maybe we'll have more people interested in doing it. Do you think, Charna? When we make it more meaningful, when we make it a real good spiritual, I don't know. I was just hoping that it could help more people love doing it.
It adds a layer, for sure.
Thank you. A
Thank
lot of
you.
it was very informative. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for participating. Okay, well, that's what we have. So, mwah, blessings. Hope to see you down the road before too long. I'm sure we will. And all right, all the best, Lila Tov.
I do too.